Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum. I'm here with some words of wisdom to give you some things to think about and hopefully talk about with others because that's how this stuff spreads, right? And yeah, today we're not using a card for a prompt. There was a video that came across my Facebook that just kind of sparked this collective of events and thoughts to come together in my mind. And so here we are. That's what we're going to talk about. I'm calling it Dedicated and Determined. So that's the working title for today. Good morning, Miss Jo Neal. Glad you are here. Welcome. And so, dedicated and determined. And I like those words. I actually have a little sticker torn off of, here, I'm going to show you. Little post-it note, just tore an edge off. So there was a little bit of stick and a little bit of paper. And I have written on there, dedicated versus disciplined. Because when I use the word disciplined, oh, you're up editing. Yay, you go, girl. You go. That's awesome. Dedicated versus disciplined, because oftentimes many of us have negative connotations to the word disciplined, right? What did discipline mean when we were a kid? It wasn't a good thing, right? So, dedicated. I like that word dedicated, and I like the word determined. So, good morning, Gwen. Glad you're here. Welcome. Welcome. So, we have people from YouTube and people from Facebook here this morning. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, in this, there's going to be some gentle calls to action. Gentle, gentle, gentle. So, I think what I want to do is talk about the events over the last couple of weeks that have led up to me being in this place. And good morning, Nancy. Welcome. Glad you're here. Um, and then kind of weave in the calls to action that I think are relevant. And as I'm talking, you can apply this perspective, and we've been doing perspective, haven't we? We've had cards and cards and cards and chapters and chapters and chapters on perspective, especially getting the rarefied view, the more expanded perception of something instead of looking at it right here and you can't really see it well. So, as they come to mind, I'm just going to throw them out there. Some of the things that led to what we're going to talk about today are watching a video of a Korean American woman talking about the erosion of women's rights over the last chunk of time and how there was a capitulation of responsibility. Good morning, Barb. Welcome. Glad you're here. A capitulation of responsibility on the parts of women in particular to maintain our rights. We have seen our right to make choices about our bodies eroded. We have seen they're working real hard right now to erode women's choice with regard to voting. We need to be attentive to this, and the words that I used were dedicated and determined in maintenance of our right to stand equally with our brethren, right? It is not okay if some of us are getting the rubber stamp of approval simply because they have an appendage. And good morning, Beth. Welcome. Glad you're here. And the rest of us, yeah, I'm not willing to be an also ran. I have a brain. I'm pretty intelligent. I can make good choices. I want the right to make those choices. So there's a little quote that I've got sitting here that I think is relevant also. Let's see if we can get it to show up. You don't need mastery, just willingness. So we don't have to know everything. Women have been misled to believe that, good morning, Maureen, glad you are here, that we have to know everything there is to know about something before we can develop an opinion. Men don't have that barrier. Men are like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And they try stuff and they learn from mistakes. Interestingly, I'm going to call it a conspiracy. It's a good word. A conspiracy that when women try things and they quote unquote fail, 4-letter F word, they fail, they get dragged through the mud. A man can do the same thing and fail, and it's like, meh, no big deal. No more two sets of rules. Not okay. So we need to be dedicated and determined with regard to maintaining the gains we've had, recouping the gains we've lost, and speaking up for those who really don't have much of a voice, right? And we're seeing this all over the place, the squelching of tentative voices because they're just getting started. How do we, women who have a strong voice, how do we hold space and create safety for our sisters who don't have a voice yet, but are beginning to test the waters with their voice? So one of the things that I also think works against us here is the training that many of us had about how important it was to be nice. Don't make people mad. Don't take up too much space. Don't ruffle feathers. Be nice. Nice is overrated. Good morning, Trace. Glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. You need this. Well, good. Then I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. This does not mean we have to become screaming mimes, but it does mean we need to stand strongly, ground ourselves, and say, I'm not okay with this. I am not okay with this. We are seeing repeated, yes, there has always been a double standard. Yes. Time for us to practice being done with that. Don't play into the double standard. And we do all the time. There's that rule for authoritarianism: don't concede anything before they're demanding it of you. And even then, fight the good fight as best you can. But we've seen repeatedly women kind of handing over sovereignty before it's even demanded. No, 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 no. Dedicated and determined. I want you to try that on. Take some breaths. Dedicated and determined. How does that feel in your body? For me, I can take a full breath. And I can let it out noisily. I don't have to be delicate and quiet. Breathe in. Breathe out. Take up space. Get your shoulders back. Take up some space side to side. How many of us scrunch ourselves in so as not to take up any space? Not acceptable. Take a breath. Let it go. And again, this doesn't have to mean yelling, screaming, flailing at the machine. It can. There are those who like to do that. Absolutely, go for it. There are also those who are simply going to say, I'm showing up for this. I'm showing up and I'm making it clear this isn't okay with me. We'll have opportunities. Those opportunities will come up. How many of you find that you hedge what you say when you're talking to people? How many of you find you hedge what you post on your bloody Facebook page? It's your page. And I tell people, and I leave up the negative stuff for the most part. If someone is threatening me with physical harm, then I'm probably going to block them. But if it's someone who's merely being negative, name calling, you're so stupid, blah, 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 I leave that stuff up because I want my sisters to see that I'm willing to address that in an appropriate way. I'm not going to back away from that kind of behavior. If you want to be on my page, you can appropriately disagree and we can have discourse about that. But I'm not going to tolerate name calling and I'm not going to tolerate put downs, etc., etc., etc. We must learn again how to have civil discourse. Note the word civil there. How do we do this without demeaning the person who believes differently? How do we do this? We're capable. We're absolutely capable. So, part of what set this off is there's also been a disturbing tendency among my clients to do la 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 They don't want to hear anything that's upsetting or disturbing, whatever. On the one hand, I understand that, and there is great value in taking breaks from the onslaught of negative information. Absolutely get that. Absolutely get that. But what do you stand for? What do you stand for? Some of what I hear, so the Line 5 oil pipeline that's um, threatening to be encased in a concrete tunnel under the Straits of Mackinac on the Great Lakes, connecting to all 20% of the world's fresh drinking water. Do I think that's a big enough deal to make a stink about? Absolutely so. And um, have I struggled at times with saying so? Yes. And has there been negative stuff that has come back my way because of it? Yes. You're just anti-business, you blah, blah, blah. No, I'm pro-life. I want to live. I don't want oil in my water. Okay. Um, but standing the ground on those kinds of things and people throwing their hands up, the pipeline issue has been going on for years. It's working its way through state courts, federal courts, tribal courts, all over the place. This this stuff takes time. This stuff takes time. And don't give up. Don't give up. That's where the dedicated and determined comes in. Do not give up. And even when it looks like something is lost, lose a court case, whatever, do not give up. Keep going. Keep focused. Yesterday was having a email or a text message back and forth with someone I know. And she's now experiencing the direct result of having done la 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 la. And it is not a pretty result. And all along, I've been encouraging her, take a step, incremental steps. That's all you got to do is incremental steps. You don't have to solve this all at once, but you must address it. So whatever issue there is that is curling your hair right now, and there's lots to choose from, isn't there? Shit, we're in another war. Incremental steps, incremental steps, incremental steps with determination and dedication. What do we need? Mining in the boundary waters. That one, yes, is blowing me over the edge. Any of that, the national parks. We're going to drill in our national parks. No, just no, just no. So we need to speak up. We need to claim those topics that are important to us. Do you want to still continue to vote? Would you like to have that right? It's getting messed with. It's getting messed with. Dedicated and determined. How will you speak up? You may not go live on several platforms and speak your truth, but you can have a conversation with somebody, or at work when somebody says something that you proactive for health. Yes, yes, yes. When you hear something at work that you don't agree with, even just quietly saying, well, my opinion's a little different than that. Would you like to hear it? Be as gentle as you can, because people don't hear when you yell. And isn't that an interesting paradox? When we raise holy hell on something, oftentimes they can't hear us because we're creating that onslaught. Sometimes it's the quiet voices that get the most attention, especially if you're a quiet voice that hasn't spoken up much to date. Speak your truth. I have a problem with this. This doesn't work for me. I'm upset about this, but differently than you are. Could we have a conversation over coffee about it? I'd like to practice being able to have civil discourse. Would you be willing to practice with me? Can we talk about this and disagree respectfully? Respectfully. And if someone says yes, when someone says yes, figure out, how do I want to manage this? We can do the fire hose. Let me just pound you with all of the information that I have and I know, which most of us then get to a point where we just shut down because it's too much. Maybe you say, I'd like to give you my top 3 reasons why I believe what I believe. Just 3. I've got a lot, but I wanna just pick 3. Is that sufficient? That person might say, "Well, can you just give me 1?" Give them 1. You're planting seeds. Start somewhere. And thank them for being willing to have the conversation. Might it get a little heated? Yes. Might you need to take a step back? Yes. But we need more practice at speaking our truth. We need much more practice at speaking our truth. And the things that are unfolding right now, if we go back to our invoking divine right timing and divine right order, all of this is unfolding right here, right now for reasons. So find your reason and address it. Find your reason and address it. It might be you saying, I just hit my limit with this stuff. I just hit my limit. Now I need to start speaking up. I need to start saying this isn't okay. So, a small thing that you can do is as you're reading through other people's Facebook posts and you find something that mirrors your perspective on something, choose a couple people to send it to. Start with safe people. Choose a couple people to send it to. I'd like to talk about this. See if they're willing to have a conversation about it. Are you going to make mistakes? Absolutely, you're going to make mistakes. There's times, especially with my little brother, where I get heated about stuff and he will slide into the why the hell are you drinking the Kool-Aid approach. So we have to, and his thing right now is we're just not going to talk about it. I get why he went there, but it's not going to help us bridge the gap. I believe we could get to a point of, okay, you believe that, I believe this. We've talked about our reasons. Neither one of us is going to change our opinion, so we can be respectful of the other person's opinion. We can do that. We can get there. It's going to take some time. So, my call to action for you today is take a step. Take a step. So if you have an opinion on something, if the war is what's sending you over the edge, if it's the mining in the boundary waters, if it's line 5, if it's messing around with the voting machine so women are going to have a harder time being heard, whatever your gig is, say something to someone. Start, practice, see how it goes. If it trips you back into old learning, "Ooh, I wasn't nice." Midwest, no, I wasn't Midwest nice. Allow. Do I wanna stay Midwest nice? Or do I want to speak my truth respectfully, directly, etcetera? What am I gonna take a stand for? I have a friend who says, let me see if I can get this right. Um, it's something along the lines of, if you put up with anything, stand up for nothing. I forget how it goes, but the basic gist is speak your truth. Speak your truth. If any of you know that one, throw it in the feed. That'd be good. But I remember him saying it over and over and over again, and it's like, yeah, I get that. I get that. So, have an awesome Sunday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Put some comments in the feed. Let's have some conversation about this stuff. If you have a point that you think might be different than mine, let's put it in there. And Jonelle and I do this all the time. That's why we do Common Ground Conversations, our podcast, because we need to walk beside our sisters and brothers who believe differently than we do about some things. And there's a ton of stuff that we believe the same about. Find the common ground. Find the common ground. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye bye.